We hung holiday lights early. It was the first year without my mom, and it helped. Our neighbor came over and said, "You're desperate for attention, aren't you?" I said nothing. Then our lights were cut. Clean. All at once. My wife called the electrician. This was intentional. We reviewed the security feed, saw nothing. But the next day, a stranger on Facebook messaged me. "I'm his electrician." He bragged about it during a job. And attached a voice memo. I played it back. And heard him say, "That grieving couple needs to grieve in the dark." We live in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. It's a small, pretty town outside Milwaukee. Old houses, wide sidewalks, neighbors who wave even if they don't know you. The kind of place where you think things are safe, where you expect people to be decent. Last October, my mom died. Cancer. She didn't make it long after the diagnosis. Jess, my wife, was the one who found her collapsed in the bathroom. I was at work. That still haunts me. I should have been there. She fought it hard, but when it came fast. We buried her the day after her 67th birthday. It broke me. The holidays were coming, and I didn't feel like doing anything. I didn't want a tree. I didn't want Thanksgiving. I sure as hell didn't want to put lights on the house. But Jess did. She said, "Your mom loved the lights. Remember? She used to keep them up until February." I remembered. Mom was one of those people who went all out. Big plastic reindeer, glowing snowflakes in the windows, red and green lights wrapped around every railing. "She'd want you to keep doing it," Jess said. For her. So we did. We pulled out the lights from the garage the second week of November. It was still early, but that's what we needed. I spent 2 days up on the ladder while Jess untangled cords and kept the hot cocoa coming. We didn't talk much. But we didn't need to. It felt like we were honoring her in our own quiet way. I'll admit, when it was all lit up, something inside me shifted. Our house looked warm again. For the first time since the funeral, I smiled without faking it. Then Dave showed up. He lives 2 doors down. Old Air Force vet. Always in camo pants or that same navy windbreaker with the patches. Never friendly, exactly. Just around. Always had that look on his face like the world owed him something. He saw me in the yard, standing next to the candy canes Jess had just staked into the ground. He walked over, hands in his jacket, smirking. "You're desperate for attention, aren't you?" he said. I turned and looked at him. I didn't say a damn word. He laughed a little. That same smug chuckle he gives when someone forgets to take in their trash bins. Then he walked off. I didn't tell Jess. No point. It was just a rude comment. Let it slide, right? But I didn't forget. Next night I worked late. It was around 9 o'clock when I turned onto our street. Something was wrong. Our house pitch black. No lights. Not even the reindeer. At first I thought maybe the power went out. But the other houses were fine. Jess met me at the front door. Her face was pale. "All the lights are dead," she said. I walked around the house with a flashlight. None of the cords were loose. Nothing was unplugged. I opened the breaker panel. Everything looked normal. Jess called an electrician the next morning. He crawled around the porch, under the deck, around the back. When he came back up, he looked pissed. "This wasn't an accident," he said. "Someone cut the cords. Clean. Like with a blade. All of them." He held up one cord. The copper inside was completely exposed. I felt sick. "Who would do that?" Jess asked. I didn't answer. But I had a name in my head. We checked the door cam footage. It only covered the porch and driveway. Whoever did this stayed out of frame or knew how to avoid it. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept looking out the window, checking the yard every hour. Jess told me to let it go. But I couldn't. It didn't feel random. I bought 2 new cameras, one hidden under the eaves and another mounted in the oak tree across the street. I didn't tell anyone about them. Not even Jess. If someone came back, I wanted to be ready. Then, 4 days later, I got a Facebook message. From a guy I didn't know. Aaron C. It read, "I'm his electrician. He bragged about cutting your lights during a job. I don't like what he said. Thought you should know." There was a voice memo attached. I stared at it for a long time before playing it. It started with a loud laugh. Then a man's voice, Dave's voice. "That grieving couple needs to grieve in the dark." My hands shook. I listened again. Then again. No doubt about it. It was him. I forwarded the message to Jess without a word. She came into the room 3 minutes later. Her face was pale, her eyes full of fire. "We're doing something about this, right?" she asked. I nodded. I already had something in mind. I didn't want revenge that would land me in jail. I didn't want to go low and end up like him. But I wasn't going to let it slide either. He thought we were weak because we were grieving. He thought we'd roll over. He was wrong. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about that voice memo. Jess kept tossing beside me. Around 3 a.m., she finally sat up and said, "Let's make this right." That's when the idea came together. Dave had been bragging to someone he thought wouldn't care. Big mistake. And now I had the recording. I had his words. But calling the cops? That wasn't going to go anywhere. Cutting lights isn't exactly a felony. He'd deny it. Say it was taken out of context. No. I needed to do this another way. The next morning, I replied to Aaron. "Thank you for the message. Would you be willing to talk more? Maybe in person?" He replied 5 minutes later. "Sure. Meet me at Lucky's on Lincoln. Noon." I told Jess I was going out to run errands. She didn't ask questions. She knew. I got to Lucky's early. It's a small diner that smells like burnt bacon and coffee. Aaron walked in 5 minutes late. Tall guy, work boots, grease on his shirt. We shook hands. No small talk. "I only sent you that message because it was disgusting," he said. He was rewiring a garage in Mequon. Started talking about his neighbors. Said you guys couldn't handle a little grief without making it everyone's problem. Then he laughed. Said he took care of it. I nodded. "He ever tell you how he did it?" I asked. "Yeah," Aaron said. Said he waited until after dark. Parked a few blocks away. Said he wore gloves. Cut the cords at the base so you'd have to rewire everything. Thought it was funny. I felt my hands ball into fists. Aaron pulled out his phone. I didn't want to get involved, but the way he said it? It stuck with me. "Here, listen to this part." He played a second clip. It was Dave again. "They'll cry in the dark now. Like they should have from the start. Stupid lights. They act like they're the only ones who've ever lost someone." That was it. That was the moment the line got crossed so far it couldn't even be seen anymore. I looked Aaron in the eyes. "Would you be willing to share that publicly?" He hesitated. "Like how publicly?" "Leave that to me," I said. That night, I made a copy of both clips. Then I made a burner email account. I sent both voice memos, along with a short paragraph, to 3 places: the Cedarburg Community Facebook group, the Nextdoor app for our neighborhood, and for good measure, the local American Legion chapter page, where Dave liked to post photos from Veterans Day. I didn't sign my name. The post read, "Retired vet in our neighborhood brags about vandalizing a grieving couple's Christmas display." His own electrician shared this. This isn't how neighbors should treat each other. I hit send. Then I waited. The next 48 hours were chaos. By morning, the Facebook group had exploded. Over 200 comments. People asking for Dave's address. People calling him sick. Neighbors tagging each other. "Is this our Dave? This can't be real, right?" Then someone posted a photo from a block party last summer, with Dave in the background, in his navy windbreaker. By noon, Shelley, Dave's wife, posted in the group, "Please stop sending messages. We're handling this privately." But it didn't stop. Someone printed out the transcript and taped it to a streetlight near his house. Others started digging up old arguments he'd had with neighbors. One woman claimed he slashed her kids' bike tires 2 years ago, and she never had proof. Another said he called her an unfit mother for having Halloween decorations up too long. It wasn't just online anymore. I saw him outside on the 3rd day. Standing in his yard, arms crossed, scowling. But he wasn't yelling. He wasn't sneering. For the first time, Dave looked small. Then something else happened. Something I didn't expect. Shelley came to our door. I opened it, and she stood there, holding a plastic container of cookies. Her hands trembled. "I just wanted to say," she started, her voice shaky. "I didn't know. I swear. I would never." He was angry that week. Said something about how grief makes people selfish. Jess stepped forward. "That's what he thinks." Shelley's eyes filled with tears. "He says a lot of things. He doesn't always mean them." I took the container. I didn't smile. "I'm sorry," she said again. Then she walked off. Jess and I stood there a long time. "Do you think she knew?" Jess asked. "I don't know," I said. "But I think she knows now." I thought that would be the end of it. Dave had been humiliated. People crossed the street to avoid him. I figured he'd lay low, maybe even move. That was fine with me. But I was wrong. 1 week after the voice memo went public, someone broke into our garage. They didn't take anything. Nothing valuable was missing. But our boxes of decorations, our Christmas bins, were slashed open. Wires yanked out. Reindeer busted into pieces. The snowman Jess's mom gave us? Broken in half. On the wall, in thick red spray paint, someone wrote, "You started this." Jess found it first. I heard her scream and ran outside, heart pounding. When I saw it, my first thought wasn't fear, it was rage. I knew it was him. We called the cops. This time, they actually seemed interested. The officer took photos, wrote things down, and said he'd canvassed the area. But I could tell he didn't expect to find anything. "Could be kids," he said. "Could be anyone." I showed him the message, the voice memos, the Facebook post. He just nodded and said, "That's all online. Doesn't prove he did this." Of course it didn't. That's when I remembered the camera in the oak tree. The one I mounted weeks ago. I pulled the footage. At 2:11 a.m., a man walked up our driveway. Hoodie. Gloves. But something gave him away, his limp. Dave had a bad knee. Every time he walked, it was uneven. Left foot slower than the right. That detail stuck with me from all the times I saw him pacing his lawn yelling at kids. The man limped. I paused the footage, zoomed in as much as I could. Grainy, but the frame showed something else, a patch on the sleeve. A flag patch. The same kind Dave had on his windbreaker. I took it to the station. The officer watched it, leaned back, and said, "Could be him." "That's him," I said. "But it's not clear," he said. "You know how hard it is to press charges on this. No face. No actual footage of the vandalism. What will it take?" I asked. He shrugged. "A confession. Or a witness. Something solid." I left the station shaking. Jess was quiet the rest of the night. Just sat on the couch, holding a photo of my mom. "We can't keep living like this," she said. "We have to make him stop." And that's when it hit me. He wanted us to stop grieving in the open. He wanted to shame us back into the dark. But the one thing Dave couldn't stand, the thing he hated most, was people seeing who he really was. So I had to show them. All of them. That weekend I rented a projector from the hardware store and borrowed a fold-up movie screen from a guy at work. He didn't ask why. Just said, "Return it by Monday." I set it up in our front yard, right where the reindeer used to be. I strung up a banner above it that said, "Watch what our neighbor did to us." By noon, people started gathering. Neighbors. Kids on bikes. A few older folks I didn't even know. Jess stood on the porch, arms crossed, her jaw set. Then I hit play. The first thing I showed was the voice memo. That grieving couple needs to grieve in the dark. Loud. Clear. Followed by the second clip. They'll cry in the dark now. People murmured. A few gasped. Then came the garage footage. The limp. The patch. The red spray paint. The words. "You started this." It was rough, grainy, but you could see it all. Nobody said a word for a minute after it ended. Then someone clapped. Others followed. Shelley wasn't there, but Dave was. He stood across the street, watching from behind his mailbox. He didn't come over. He just stared. Jaw tight. Then turned around and walked back inside. Later that night, we heard a bang. Not a gunshot. Not something violent. Just a crash. We ran outside. Dave's mailbox was flattened. Tire tracks led into it. A few neighbors stood nearby. One woman, Lori, from up the block said, "Some teen must have taken a corner too fast." Jess looked at me. I knew she didn't believe that for a second. But we didn't say anything. The next day, I got a call from Aaron. "You won't believe what I just heard," he said. Apparently, Dave had tried to hire another electrician. Not to fix anything, but to check his own house for cameras or bugs. Said he was being watched. Said the grieving freaks down the street were out to ruin his life. That's when Aaron told me the best part. He told the guy, they made me the villain. But I was right. They needed to stop pretending grief makes them special. Aaron paused. He still doesn't get it. No, he didn't. And he never would. But I wasn't done yet. That night, I took every broken decoration from the garage. The busted snowman, the reindeer legs, even the ripped wires, and I arranged them carefully in the yard. Made it look like a crime scene. Put yellow tape around it. Jess made a sign. Grief vandalized. Twice. People slowed down to stare. Some parked and got out to take pictures. A few knocked just to say they were sorry, or to ask if we needed help. Every time someone asked, "Who did this?" we didn't have to say a word. They already knew. 2 days after we put up the crime scene, we woke up to silence. Cold. Still. But not peaceful. No birds. No cars. Just a knock at the door. Jess answered it. I stood behind her. It was Officer Talbot, the same one who brushed us off before. This time, he looked different. Nervous. He held a folder under one arm. "Morning," he said. "Can I come in?" We sat in the living room. He stayed standing. "I came by because Dave Atwell was found unconscious in his garage this morning," he said. "Possible carbon monoxide poisoning. His wife found him. Called it in around 6. Jess's face went pale. "Is he dead?" "No," the officer said. "But close. They rushed him to Frontert. He's in the ICU." He opened the folder. "There's something else." His wife handed over his phone to the paramedics. Said he wasn't himself lately. Paranoid. Angry. Talking about getting even. We looked through his messages. He pulled out a printed screenshot. Handed it to me. It was a draft text. "Never sent. I'll get them. Lights or no lights. Maybe next time, they won't be so lucky." My mouth went dry. The officer kept talking. "We also found wire cutters in his truck. Still had bits of your wiring insulation stuck in the blades." I didn't say anything. Just stared at the floor. Jess looked at me, then at the officer. "What happens now?" "If he survives," the officer said, "he'll likely face charges. Vandalism. Harassment. Possibly more." He paused. "But there's one more thing." Jess frowned. "What?" "We also found this." He held up a small envelope, sealed in red wax. "Had your name on it," he said, handing it to me. I opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper. It said, "You win. Hope your lights keep you warm when everything else goes cold." No signature. But it didn't need one. 3 weeks passed. Dave never woke up. Eventually, Shelley pulled the plug. The hospital said there was too much brain damage. Carbon monoxide can do that, silent, creeping. He must have sat out there a long time. Maybe he meant to. Maybe not. The town didn't say much. Nobody put flowers on their lawn. There was no vigil. Some people muttered things like, "What a sad way to go." But others, quietly, "Thank you, S." Said they'd had problems with him for years. Said he made their kids cry. Slashed their tires. Screamed at a woman for putting a pride flag in her yard. He kept his hands clean for a long time. Until he didn't. We put the lights back up just before Christmas. All of them. New chords. New figures. Bright and loud. Jess even added music. My mom's favorite carol played on loop. Silent Night. Neighbors stopped by with cider. Kids took photos in front of the snowman Jess rebuilt. She gave it a bandage around the middle, like a little scar. I like that. But not everything went back to normal. Something inside me changed. I used to be quiet. Let things slide. But when someone turns your grief into their playground, you learn to speak up. You learn to fight. And you learn this, sometimes revenge isn't loud. It's not fire and yelling and fists. Sometimes it's lights. Sometimes it's truth. And sometimes, it's a cold December morning when the one who wanted you in the dark ends up swallowed by his own shadows.